And hi, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Space for today, January. Well, that is not the right date. It's January 9th, 2020. I'll fix that in a little bit. I did all of the other slides and forgot to fix the date on this one, but that's okay. Let me go over and I will just flip over to the first slide. But welcome, everybody. I am Susie Murph. I am the producer. I am usually behind the scenes, but now they've got me started streaming. So it's exciting. It's fun. And I even made my debut on the weekly Space Hangout last night, filling in for one of the astro journalists. So I pretended to be a journalist on TV last night. That was kind of cool. And technically I am. I realized that as I was thinking about it, we really do report on space news. So I guess that does kind of make me at least journalist adjacent, if not actual journalist. So that was exciting. That was fun. It was chaotic because everybody major, like Pamela, Fraser, a lot of our journalists, everybody was at AAS in Hawaii. And so we were having to run things kind of with the B team, but we're an awesome B team. And so Annie was engineering, Morgan was hosting. We had a great interview with Brian Whedon, who is basically a space debris expert. If you look down in the video on demand here in Twitch TV, you'll see it, and you can watch it later on. You can pick up and watch that show. We got a little bit of a late start, but our guest was so gracious and spent a tremendous amount of time talking to us. And then Fraser popped in and gave us a report from AAS. So that was pretty cool. And then I've shared a couple of articles and got to get a little bit of reporter cred with Morgan. And if you haven't watched the weekly Space Hangout, you should. It's really fun. And you can always watch it here on our Twitch because we'll do a simulcast. It'll stay here for about a week. And then we also, it records over on YouTube. So it's over on the Weekly Space Hangout channel on YouTube. So if I think we have a command for that in Nightbot. So if somebody gets a chance to stick that in there you go. Well, that's the CosmoQuest site. Any of our other stuff that we do here, I archive over on CosmoQuest on the YouTube channel. So we have a lot of links. We have a lot of shows. Yesterday, we had 5 streams just of ours, of stuff going on because we had the Daily Space, we had a couple of press conferences, we had the Weekly Space Hangout, and 2 astronomy casts, which actually got condensed into one video, which I get to edit and put out separately later today. It was a busy day, but thankfully the AAS conference is over now, and Pamela hopefully is relaxing on a beach in Honolulu and enjoying some well-deserved vacation with her husband Kyle. Happy birthday this week, Kyle. He is a very long-suffering young man who just supports everything Pamela does, and he's amazing. So everybody send hugs to Kyle for his birthday, and hopefully they're having a great time. And they'll be back on Monday to do all the work. I'll be streaming on Monday, and that's exciting. I get Mondays. Oh boy, I get Mondays every week. But the good thing is Pamela does the scripts for me. So, all right, let me get to the script today. Apologies, I looked down to read it. I am sorry, but Pamela writes for me, so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. All right. The American Astronomical Society's annual meeting came to an end yesterday, but it's going to take us the rest of this week to get through even highlights of what happened. This week was full of controversy, existential crisis, and a diversity of nonstop science. So let's start with the science. The Daily Space's Pamela Gay has been on location at the meeting this week, and her favorite story of the week has been the discovery of a young cluster of stars in the halo of the Milky Way. Anyone who has taken an introductory astronomy class has probably seen the diagram of the Milky Way that states that our galaxy's halo is old, and that has the oldest stars and star clusters. But the disk around it is the place where you look for new stars. But if there's one thing our universe can't do, it's conform to expectations. So while the outer halo of the Milky Way is largely devoid of dense gas and dust, there are exceptions, and one of those exceptions turned into a small cluster of a few thousand stars. The material to form these stars was stripped from the Magellanic Clouds at some point in the past, as they gravitationally interacted with the Milky Way. These small irregular galaxies have material pulled out in front and trailing behind them, and this cluster is in the leading arm of the material. The cluster is similar in age to the Pleiades cluster, which is about 117 million years old. The small cluster gives astronomers a few thousand new stars that they can use to gauge the distance to the streams of material associated with the Magellanic Clouds. And these stars allow measurements that are far more precise than was previously possible just from looking at the observed gas. These new measurements radically changed our understanding of where this stream is, having the distance to just 90,000 light years away. This new location for the stream allows us to understand the motions of the Magellanic Clouds and will allow new calculations of how the tiny galaxies have interacted with our galaxy in the past and whether or not they'll fly away in the future. Those calculations will be the subject of many future papers, but for now it's just cool to know that new stars can sometimes be found in even the most barren wastelands between the galaxies. I think that's pretty cool. All right. Making sure I'm showing you the right slide, of course. All right. In other news from AAS, the Sophia Airborne Observatory has taken new images of the area around the Swan, or Omega Galaxy. And you can see it does kind of look like a swan. And it has revealed newly forming stars shining like pinpoints from the clouds surrounding the familiar Swan. By peeling away the visibly opaque gas with the longer wavelength of light, astronomers were able to determine that star formation in this region has come in bursts over time, starting in the center, with the star formation in the outer regions continuing today. So this is another one of those places that breaks with expectation. We often tell students that star clusters form all at once, with a single burst of star formation that leads to stars of all sizes in the same ages. Well, while that may often be true, the Omega Nebula decided it was going to break with this tradition. Science is in many ways nothing more than a set of overarching guidelines that describe how the rules of physics most often combine to make things happen. While the bulk of the time the halo has old stars, physics lets there be exceptions. And while stars in clusters mostly form all at once, the way clouds collapse and fragments allows the nebula to burst more than once. And it's in the exceptions that we often get the most awesome insights, or at least the oh wow moments that keep researchers wanting to do research and to build new telescopes and new spacecraft to look at even more parts of the sky. All right. And one day I'll be fluid enough to change slides without having to stop and pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay, the next big telescope that we can all count on is the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope that's being constructed in Chile. Designed to observe the entire visible southern sky every few nights, this telescope while it gives us statistically driven understanding of the sky, it also buries us in petabytes of data. Petabytes. Yeah, that much. This week we learned that the observatory facility is going to be named the Vera Rubin Observatory in honor of the woman who played a commanding role in the discovery of dark matter. This naming, however, has not been without confusion and frustration. While a lot of the web pages and articles associated with the announcement have said that the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope is being named after Vera Rubin, it's actually the facility. The telescope is actually being named after a billionaire software developer, Charles Simonyi, who was part of Microsoft and went on to be the first space tourist, and the only space tourist to go twice. Simonyi donated $20 million to the construction of the LSST. Bill Gates only donated $10 million in comparison, and the total cost was estimated to be $460 million. So the naming of this telescope is not without controversy. We haven't been able to confirm the details of how the name is to happen, but it seems that astronomers may have found, once again, a new way to do a bad job naming things. And if you have watched, you have heard Pamela say astronomers should never be allowed to name things. So we're going to be watching as this story unfolds, or unravels, or whatever happens. All right, beyond that, we've heard that Betelgeuse continues to dim. It has not yet exploded, but it's expected to be returning to its normal levels maybe by the end of the month. Maybe. We don't know. We don't know what Betelgeuse is going to do, and astronomers are having a field day watching it. That's the most important thing. We're really enjoying watching it because we don't know what it's going to do. I personally would really love a supernova because Betelgeuse is great. It is close enough for us to have a front row seat, but it's far enough away to not hurt us. It's perfect. So let's get a supernova. How about that? All right. However this and the other stories unfold, we'll be here to bring them to you on Daily Space. All right. So now I will look and see, does anyone have any questions? I'm not the best at the science stuff, but I can give it a try. And once again, you can always ask questions about production, about Pamela and Annie, about what's going on our channel at any given time. Feel free to ask. So I'm looking to see here. I think I remember, this is from Larry Weird. I think I remember there is a new understanding of our local arm in the Milky Way. Do I know about this? I think I remember hearing something about that too, but that is definitely a Pamela question because she would be more on top of that. But I think you're right. And Planetary Pan says, are you thinking of the announcement of the Radcliffe wave? I think that was the story I heard. I have not read it in detail yet. I am sure Pamela will come and cover that next week because there's going to be a ton of stuff that happened this week that we found out about that she's going to be able to go back and cover because next week will probably be a slightly slow news week just because everybody's getting back from the conference. So we'll be able to go back and do a little bit more deep dives in some of the stuff that came out this week because this week we were just swamped with stories. Someone's playing with the dimmer switch. Not intentionally. I have a streaming lamp now and it or my camera may be adjusting. I apologize. I did not fiddle with anything during this stream. Radcliffe wave sounds fun. Yes, Haney, you are right. Haney's Warwarp says Radcliffe wave sounds fun. That does kind of sound like some. Let's see. A petabyte here, a petabyte there. Soon it will add up for an exabyte. Is that what the next thing is? See, I always have to ask my husband. He's a programmer, so he knows all of these terms. And yeah, I didn't know what was after a petabyte. But I know a petabyte is huge. Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments or chit chat? We had a lot of fun last night with the weekly space hangout. We had fun with the astronomy casts that were scheduled, although they did not show up on the streams they were scheduled to show up on. Apparently doing things remotely with YouTube breaks the things I set up ahead of time, and we end up having to start whole new streams, and that's a little frustrating. So I will be getting those straightened out later this afternoon. I'm going to have to take the video, edit it, split it into 2 parts, upload the second part to YouTube, and get all that done before I even touch the podcast version. So it'll be fun. Haney says, I did great last night. Thank you so much. I pretended to be a journalist on TV. Raj Luthra, it is my birthday today. Happy birthday, Raj. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being on stream with us for your birthday. That's pretty awesome. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. Yeah, but this is cool. 1 second. My son just walked in. Let me yell at him for 1 second nicely. Just had to warn him not to come in screaming or starting talking to me, because oftentimes he comes in and starts telling me about what happened at school, which is pretty cool. He's a senior in high school, so he gets out early, and they just built a new building as part of their high school, and some of his classes this semester are in there. And so he's been telling me all about the new building. So just heading him off. Yes, happy birthday. And we hope you're having a great day, Raj Luthra. Let's see. Any other questions we're seeing here? Because we have a few minutes if y'all want to chat. Let's see. I think I got asked about us riding roller coasters yesterday. Thank you, Planetary Pan, for the cheers. That's very kind of you. We appreciate it. And yeah, I got asked about roller coasters. What is my background? Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so I started out as a psychology major. I got my bachelor's degree, and then I went on to get a master's degree in clinical psychology. And I was working on a PhD. I was going to be a therapist, a doctor, all that. But then I realized I didn't like doing therapy. But I love teaching. And I actually like teaching just about anything. So I dropped out of grad school. I'm ABD on a PhD for psychology. And then I was married and had kids and ended up being a stay-at-home mom for about 13 years. And my husband's a programmer. It was cheaper for me to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom than for me to work and put them in daycare. So we decided that was a good thing. And because I'm a psychology person, I call them my little case studies sometimes. I think Kevin is cringing right now hearing this. He's not really paying attention. That's what he said. And as I was a stay-at-home mom, as they got older and they started school, I got into podcasting. About 2006, I really started listening to podcasts. That was very early in podcasting, and I decided I wanted to try it. So friends of mine over at Farpoint Media helped me learn how to podcast, and I started doing a podcast about having geeky kids. And then I got involved with the Parsec Awards, which were an awards program that we used to do at DragonCon. We did it for about 10 years. Unfortunately, this year it's kind of faded away because it takes a lot of time and energy and volunteers. And a couple of us rotated off of the steering committee, and it seems to have kind of gone away. And unfortunately, I don't have time to go back and try to resurrect it. But for 10 years, we had a great run of recognizing podcasting excellence. And it was through the Parsec Awards that I met Fraser and Pamela. And I happened to be looking for a job and just put out on Twitter to find if anybody needed someone to help do things. And Fraser said, I can use some help at Universe Today. So he hired me, and I started working with him at Universe Today. And I did that for several years. And I think I started there in 2013, and I worked for him at Universe Today until 2016, when Pamela got the giant CosmoQuest grant originally. And then at that point, Pamela hired me away from Fraser, doing a lot of the same things. Originally, Fraser was having me handle Astronomy Cast and Weekly Space Hangout and all that stuff. And then when CosmoQuest got the grant, everything kind of moved over to there. And so I started working for Pamela, and I've been there ever since. Wherever Pamela goes, that's where I am. And so psychology turned into science communication and podcasting and social media, and now I'm a streamer. It kind of makes sense because I'm kind of going back to doing something similar to podcasting because I have no problem talking, if you have noticed. But it's also pretty cool. I also have lost over 100 pounds in the past year, and now I'm no longer terribly embarrassed to be seen on a video. So that's kind of cool too. Yeah. Yes. Guido says he remembers me being on the first Hangout-a-thon in a segment called Grow Your Geek. That was my podcast. It was called How to Grow Your Geek, and it was about being a geek and being a parent and raising your kids that way. Because, yeah, I'm the queen of the geeks, or at least close. How did I meet Fraser? Yes, I met him through the Parsec Awards because his show was nominated, and then he came to several of the ceremonies during the years. And I just became familiar with him and all of his work at Universe Today. And then he hired me, which is pretty cool. Yep, Haney says, I got pulled into the Pamela Fraser nexus. You are correct. Pamela has this habit of collecting useful people, and I'm one who has been collected, and she's keeping me, and I'm pretty excited about that because I love working with Pamela. Fraser, I like working with too, but boy, he can be hard to schedule sometimes. Yeah, Fraser and Pamela find good people. So, Ironheart 50 says, I remember Grow Your Geek on 365 Days of Astronomy. Didn't realize that was you. Yes, that was me and my kids a long time ago, doing a couple of episodes of 365 Days of Astronomy. That was us starting out way early before I ever worked for them. I need to write this down as part of the CosmoQuest origin story. You're right, Guido. Now, Pamela and Fraser, it's interesting. Fraser has a slightly different angle of story, and then Pamela has another one. And at the Astronomy Cast 500 event, they were asked, how did you meet Susie? How did you meet Nancy? How did you meet all of these people? So now we have this on this recording. Maybe I'll get it written down. But I have told the story a couple of times. And I was actually on a panel at DragonCon last year, filling in for Pamela because she was flying in from the PSI retreat and was not there yet. So she sent me in her place. And I was on a panel about women in podcasting and women in streaming, new media. And I told part of this story there, which was pretty cool. And so this year I have applied to be an attending professional at DragonCon, which means they pay for my ticket and I get to be on more panels. And I've been approved. So that's pretty cool too. Let's see. Let me see who else. Let me scroll back up. Raj Luthler says, astronomers may have found the origin of the fast radio bursts. That's super cool, and that's definitely one to come back and ask Pamela about because she would be familiar with that story. And she'll be back next week. She'll be back Tuesday on the Daily Space, and so bring your questions there for her. She will probably start covering the various things that happened during AAS and hitting some of the deep dives. But anyway, that's how I got involved with all this. Podcasting. That's pretty much the heart of it. And then Pamela delights in reminding people that I'm actually an academic too, because I'm ABD in that. So the Planetary Science Institute loves all of us, and I'm academic enough to understand how a lot of that works, but I've also been home and chill for a while, so I can be here and stream. I should have had the chat up this whole time while I was talking. There we go. Now I have the chat up. She needs a rest. Yes, Pamela has earned quite a few rests. And thankfully this year, she's finally making up for all those years without vacations and stuff. So we've had a few more vacations than usual in the past few months, but they were very well earned. And I definitely did not mind going on that trip to Florida with them, even though we didn't get to do rocket launches. It would have been really awesome to do rocket launches. I've only ever been to one. We went to the OSIRIS-REx launch back in 2016, and that was the coolest thing. Because Astronomy Cast is considered press, and now Daily Space will be considered press. So we were able to be in the press area, and they took us out on a bus, and we were out on the little isthmus beside the lake where they launch across from. And so we were there with all the people with their cameras and stuff, and Pamela had a camera and Fraser had a camera, and the rocket went off, and it was about 3 miles away, but you could feel it just totally going all the way through you. There is a new exhibit at the Space Center where you're there getting ready to see the Space Shuttle Atlantis, and they play a really loud rocket launch audio, and it kind of vibrates through you, and that's the closest thing I've felt to what it felt like to see a real launch. But the real launch was even cooler, And the thing we had to remember was not to sit there snapping pictures the whole time. We had to remember, stop and watch it a little bit just to experience it. It was Fraser's first launch too, so he was very excited to be there. And so if you ever go over onto his channel on YouTube, Fraser Kane, he's got a little video, I think that's still the intro video there, where he's talking about going to his first rocket launch. That's where we were. We were there. Let's see. Yes, Pamela hopefully is going to the beach today. Kyle's been hanging out on the beach, so hopefully Pamela gets to go and hang out with him today too. The repeating radio bursts, what are they? That is a very good question, and I'm sorry I don't know the answer to that, Larry. Hanny says, I'll never get over building-sized things leaving the surface. You are correct. And what's even more amazing is the building that holds the building-sized things. When we were at Kennedy Space Center, every time I go there, and we do the tour, and they show us the vehicle assembly building, that thing is incomprehensibly huge. There's a flag painted on the side of it, and the stripes on the flag are wide enough you can park a school bus on them. That's the only way my brain can kind of try to quantify it. Kind of like Annie was quantifying things in weights of African elephants yesterday. I guess I quantify it in school buses, something like that. But that building is huge because they built a Saturn V rocket in it. And then they always had the space shuttle in it. And the space shuttle actually looked a little small in that building. So now they're working in there on all the other things that are launching. And now there's all kinds of stuff launching from down there at Kennedy Space Center. All right, let's see. Okay, Raj Luthra says to Larry, scientists think that the fast radio bursts are coming from a nebula in a dwarf galaxy with a high rate of star formation. That would be pretty cool. And like today's story was all about star formation, being in places we didn't expect it. So I'm sure Pamela will come back and talk about this as well, because star formation appeared to be a major topic this year at AAS. Okay. We've run about 30 minutes. Does anybody have any additional questions? Because if not, I will go ahead and wrap this up so I can get started on all the podcast versions and the blog post and working on Astronomy Cast and scheduling things for next week and figuring out when we're going to put things out. Yeah, that's usually what I'm doing. The streaming is just the new part that I'm adding. This is the fun part, though. I get to talk to y'all. All right. Well, if I don't see any more questions here, thank you, Astro B. So hopefully I'm getting the hang of it. Talking is not a problem for me. And if you've ever met me in person, you know this. So now it's just knowing what to talk about and doing it in a coherent manner while operating all the tech. That's the challenge. So, all right, let me go ahead and do our little block of text here. Thank you for listening. The Daily Space is produced by me, and it's a product of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond. We are here thanks to the generous contributions of people like you. So if you want to become a supporter, check us out over at patreon.com/CosmoQuestX. And once again, if you miss any of these shows, you can find us over on YouTube. I take down these videos, well, I copy them, and I put them over on YouTube every day. So when they roll off here on Twitch, you can find them on YouTube. Generally, I try to have them up within the same day. Thank you, Trekker Kev, for the cheers. I appreciate that. So yeah, check us out over at, let me find the link, youtube.com/c/CosmoQuest. And I do see another thing. Do I watch The Expanse? Yes, I did watch The Expanse. And we just caught up with the end of this last season. And I'm still sad by the way it ended up. But I've read the books, so I know what's going to happen. It's just really interesting to see where it happens in the TV show. But yes, I think it's the best science fiction on television right now. The writing is good, the stories are tight, the science is amazing, and the characters are compelling. So, I mean, what else can you ask for? It's pretty bonkers. So if you haven't watched The Expanse, go find it. I don't remember right off the top of my head if it's Amazon Prime or YouTube, Amazon Prime or Netflix, but all the seasons are currently up and they're filming another one right now. And if you go over to YouTube and Google, you will find there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Adam Savage from Mythbusters, he does a lot of behind the scenes stuff for The Expanse, and I watch a lot of that in my spare time. Raj Luther says it's Amazon Prime. I knew it was one of the two. So if you haven't watched The Expanse, go watch it. It's awesome. And now you have time to catch up on, I think, it's all 4 seasons because they're filming season 5. And as far as we know, they're going to keep filming it because I think there's 9 books already. So there's plenty of content. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. You make this fun. I am a lot less nervous today. Imagine that. Yeah, Adam Savage is a cool dude. He's one of those people that I would love to be buddies with. And we know people who are buddies with him. Like, he's friends with Phil Plait, who is the bad astronomer. We know other people like Scott Sigler, who is a writer, who knows Adam Savage. And they share a Kovacs as an agent who runs around at conferences with him. So we're like one step away from being friends with Adam Savage. So get him to come back to DragonCon and we could hang out with him, and that would be super cool. All right. Thank you all. I'm going to stop the stream now, or I'm going to try to roll the credits. I don't know if they'll roll, but maybe Annie can roll them for me. If they don't roll on my end, I don't know. The credits are a little bit of a mystery. They're in here. I don't know what they do. And then I'm going to go and work on all the other stuff for you. Thank you so much, Wayne Johnson, for the cheers. You guys are awesome. On the next time that Annie or Pamela are here, they will give you an update on our donations, and I will be watching because $10,000, purple hair. Purple hair, ticket to ride. I promise. Okay, everybody. Y'all have a great day. One of us will be here tomorrow. We have not yet flipped a coin to see or argued with each other to see which one is going to be. Me or Annie, one of us will be here tomorrow. And we will bring you more science. All right, y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.